This video we're going to be making a rustic pig, or any animal for that matter, salsa bowl. So this is what the finished product that's unfired looks like. And he's got nice big space inside for a lot of salsa. So if we can ever get back together again and have a party, it would be enough salsa for about 4 to 5 people. This is what the bottom looks like with his legs. And there's his face. So a nice cute little bowl to put salsa, guacamole, any kind of dip that you would like. Okay, so I'm going to put him aside. And the first thing that we're going to do is make the bowl shape of the piece. And I'm going to do this by coiling from the top of the bowl into the middle. And so I'm going to just do my normal coils. So if you want to pre-roll these out, you can. And to save time, I did just that. So I pre-rolled out a good amount of coils. So I'm just going to start to shape the coil and how big I would like the rim to be. And I'm just pinching up just a little bit on this first coil. And your coil is going to stick to your bat, and that's okay. You can just readjust it to see how big you want the rim of your bowl. And I think that's a pretty big bowl, so I'm going to stop adding clay to this coil now. Excuse me. So we're going to start going up and over. So we're going in a shape like that. So to do that, and this is what I always say, to go in, you put the coil on the inside. So I'm putting it on the inside and pushing the clay into the coil below. Like that. And you can make your bowl as deep or as shallow as you would like to have it. I think when you think about salsa and guacamole, you don't want the bowl to be too deep, or you're going to get the dip on your hand as you put your chip in. It'll rub off on the back of your hand, and that's kind of gross. So I tend to make it a little bit more shallow. And so I'm going in to go in like that. So usually when I get 2 or 3 coils on here, I'm going to go ahead and use my spatula. And I'm going to start pulling that clay up. So let's see. I'm just pulling it up like that with my hand on the inside. Okay. And all the way around. I'm just pulling the clay up from the bottom and smoothing out these coils. All the way around. Now don't worry about smoothing the inside out yet. We'll do that when we get the chance to turn the bowl over. And I'm just going to add another coil here. Notice how I'm pinching pretty strong. I like my coil pieces to be relatively thin so they don't have a lot of weight to them. So this is a pretty thin bowl. Like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my spatula again, and we're just going to get those lines taken out, smoothing the clay together, pulling the clay down the pot. like that. Okay, it's nice and smooth. And now we're going to really start to go in. So we're going to stick the clay coil really almost straight across. Can you see that? I'm laying it right on top. And we're going pretty much just across the bowl now. Like that. And this clay is pretty wet, so I'm not scoring and slipping. And I would recommend when you work with coils, especially with something this little, that you work with clay that's this wet. And that way you don't have to waste all that time scoring and slipping, and becomes quite a pain doing all that work. Okay, and I'm just smoothing down. That. And now we're really closing in, so I'm just going to come straight across the pot here. Straight across. Like that. Okay. And you can do a little shaping if you feel like your piece is getting a little bit misshapen. Didn't roll out quite as many coils as I needed, but we're almost done. And then I'm just going to add another one here. And I'm gently pushing the clay together, pinching it like that. Now when you get to this point, you're going to want to go ahead and smooth this out, because it's going to be soon where you're not going to be able to get your fingers in there. So I've only got my one finger in there now. If you're right-handed and you're wearing a wedding band on your left hand, I've been wearing mine for so long I can manage it, but you may need to take your rings off, because the ring does tend to pull this part apart. This will scrape against it. You just have to keep your finger down. And then I'm just going to start shaping a little bit before I close this up. Okay, I'm going to do one last coil and then a pancake to finish it up. Okay, so there's that. And I'm still able to get my finger in there. And now we're just going to make a little pancake and put that on top there. So just roll out a little ball and make a little pancake. And on your pancake, you want the edges to be thinner than the middle part, so that they'll blend better onto the clay. So I'm just going to place that right there and just pat it in real gently. Because this looks a lot stiffer than it is. And then with my tool, I'm just going to start to pull the edge of that pancake down onto the bowl. Like that. Okay, so you can still see that the pancake's there. And that's okay. It's just going to stay like that until it sets up a little bit, and then we can really take care of it. If you keep trying to fuss with it now, it's just going to cause you more problems. So I'm going to do one last sweep around the top here. And then we're going to move this piece to the side and let it set up a little bit. Okay, so now we've got our bowl and it's set up a little bit. And I turned it over and I put it on a chuck. And there are some chucks in Art Alliance. They're underneath all the tools they used to be. I'm not quite sure where they are now, but I'm sure whoever's in there can help you with that. So we're going to smooth the inside unless you don't want it smooth. My thought is when you try to use a bowl that has this much texture inside and you're trying to rub a chip down there and get salsa out, it can get stuck on these ridges. So I'm going to go ahead and start to take those out, and I'm just using my nice little Michael Sherrill rib here. And I'm just bringing that clay up with the rib. Let's see if I can get my hand out of the way so you can see. pulling it up like that. And you're just going to do that all the way around until you get it nice and smooth. These tools are great. They make doing things like this very fast. And you can go and do this and really, really get it nice and smooth in there. And after you get it smooth, you can take a sponge and kind of work out some more of that little leftover lines in there. But for for keeping this video a little bit shorter, I'm just going to put this aside and I'll do this when we get off the video. So I'm just going to move this aside. And now like magic, here is a piece that I made a little bit ago. So it's all smooth inside and got a nice little rim that I'm happy with. And so, you can just set that aside. So what we need to make is the head of the pig, because I'm making a pig. And we need to make the ears and the snout and the feet. So let's take a look at the bowl that we did before. And you see his nice little head, his little snout sticks out. It kind of has a little upturn to it. He's got some cute little ears. And then he's got some significant feet. And the reason they needed to be so thick is for balance, especially if, you have a lot of people sticking their hands in there, possibly at the same time, then you don't want the bowl to get knocked over. And this is very, very, very sturdy, okay? So we're going to just we'll just trade places so we can keep an eye on this little pig's face right here. Okay, so what I like to do first is work on the feet so that once you put the feet on them, then it has a chance to start to set up. And then that way that'll help you for when you put the head and the ears and nose on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and score in 3 places. The bowl that this was modeled after was Norma's lava mortar and pestle that I can't remember where she told me she got it from. It was one of her many travels. But she uses that as her mortar and pestle, and it actually had the 3 feet placed in a tripod. And so we just kind of went after that pattern. So we were just kind of basing our bowls off of that bowl. So I'm going to score in a tripod or a triangle. Okay. And then I'm going to score back here. And these are going to be the 2 back feet. Okay. And I'm going to add just a little bit of water here. Not too much. Okay. And then we're going to start thinking about making the feet. So I'm going to take out 3 nice hunks of clay. So about that big of a ball. You need 3 of those. And I'm going to shape them in the shape of a flat rectangle with a tapered bottom. So I'm going to roll them out first and then kind of roll them the opposite way so they're kind of like a tapered bottom. And then I'm just going to tap that foot down. And then again I'm going to tap the top. And so it looks like this. Okay? And again, you want the place where you're going to join the foot to the bowl is going to be a little wider than the bottom, which is where his feet are going to be. And you can tap, 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 tap. And you really do want them to be basically the same size so you can kind of grab your other one and see the difference, and you can kind of correct those differences. Okay, and one more. And then again, we're going to flatten that And then tap, tap. And again, kind of looking at these three. And they look pretty decent to me. All right, so the next thing to do is to go ahead and attach these. And I'm gonna take the larger edge, the wider edge, and I'm gonna make a slit right down the middle, like that. And then I'm gonna widen this clay out to create a flange. So it's gonna give you more space of clay that's going to attach. And I'm just gonna stick it right on top of that place that I scored. And I'm gonna shape it the way that I want it to be shaped. And then I'm going to take my little, I just call this a rib, but it's shaped like a little knife. I'm just going to pull that clay down. You can actually use the spatula here. It works just as well. This can just get into smaller spaces than the spatula can. And I'm just really joining these feet. Like that. And then we're just going to do that with the other three. Now, right now these feet are really tall for this bowl. But we're going to cut them. I just like to have extra clay to play with just in case. It's better to have more than less because you can always subtract. It's harder to add. Okay, and again I'm going to cut my flange here. Like that. And pop that right on that scored area. And then I'm just gonna shape the foot again and just quickly join, bringing the clay down onto the bowl. And the last one. Like that. And again, one last shape on this, and we'll join it. Oops, I went a little deep there, but that's okay. I can just correct that. And one last join there, like that. And then if you want to, you can go back around and kind of fuss with the shapes a little bit. But I'm not going to do that today because I want you to be able to work versus watching a video. Okay, so now we have all 3 feet on. I'm going to stick this in front of the fan while we make the pig's head and snout and ears. Okay, so to make his head, I picked out about this much clay. And I'm just going to roll it into a nice ball. Okay, and then we're just going to start to hollow this out. So if you look at little pig's head here, that shape. So we're going to hollow out, take the snout out, we're going to hollow out this shape. So it's like a little boat. So I'm just going to start to press in with my thumb. Just like a normal pinch pot. And the whole time you're doing this, start to think about this part. So where his, I guess where his neck would be is going to be your lower part here. And then this is going to be the top of his head where his ears go. Kind of an elongated oval. And you want it to be pretty thin. I like to have things thin so they don't weigh too much. Okay, so it's like that. And we're going to end up shaping it. So right now I'm just going to stick my finger. Can you see me pushing that out? You can see the wrinkles. That's going to be where his snout will be. like that. So that's the shape you're after. Okay, and we're going to set that aside. And then we're going to make his little snout. So I don't feel like the snout needs to be hollow, because we're going to poke little nostrils in that snout. And so we're just going to make a little coil that looks a lot like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of widen it out a little bit on the edge here, like this. Okay, and then I'm going to push this flat like that, and that's going to be his little snout. But if you look at pictures of pigs, you'll notice that they have their snout goes up and in right here. So I'm going to make that happen, and we're going to turn his snout up just a little bit. So I'm going to kind of look at it and see where I feel like it kind of goes up. So I think I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm going to push in here for that little indentation that they have in their nose. And then I'm going to pinch forward for his mouth. And that's what I'm going to take a needle tool and cut that mouth in. Like that. And then I'm going to pull that out. Okay. So like that. And then you can take the end of like just one of these little wooden dowels, and you can make his nostrils. Okay. So that's his snout with his little mouth. Like that. Okay, we're going to set that aside and make his ears, and then we're going to put him all together. Okay, that's set aside. And then let's make his little ears. So his ears are they're just triangles that are flat that you stick your finger in and make the indentation of the insides of his ears. So I'm just going to roll out 2 coils, about that much clay, maybe a little less. Okay. And I'm just going to roll these out so it's shaped like a kind of a triangle shaped oval. Okay, so then once you have these, I'm just going to start to push my finger in on each side to make his ear, and then I'm going to pinch at the top like that. So that's what you've got for an ear. This part of the clay will be where you attach the ear to the head, okay? So we're just going to leave that alone, set one ear aside, and again we're just going to pinch on one side of this oval, and then pinch on the other side, and you've got a second ear, and leave this part to attach. Okay. And now we've got all the parts, so I'm going to go see about the bowl that's been in front of the fan. Okay, so I got my little bowl out from in front of the fan, and it's pretty tall. It's pretty tall. I'm going to go ahead and put the face and the ears and the snout on first, and then I'm going to cut these legs to where I want them to be. So I'm going to just go ahead and score right here. And you want to take a look, which I just didn't do. Okay, you want to take a look. And you want the head to be directly in front of one of these legs. So I'll score it off to the side a little bit. So we're going to go back and score right in front of this front leg right here. And we're going to add some water. Like that. And then I think y'all seen me before. I always like to go back over and rescore. Really getting that wetness into the clay. Making it nice and sticky. Okay, and then we're going to find our little head here. Okay, make sure you look for the snout part. And we're going to place the long part towards the bottom. Now what I usually do is I just usually pull out a little bit of clay like that so that it will sit flat on top of the scored part of my bowl. Okay, I'm just going to do that all the way around. See, I made a nice little flat flange that's going to stick right to my pot. Now if you look, my head is quite big for this pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some darts. I do this pretty often because I'd rather just dart it than have to make something perfect in the beginning. And you can always take clay off. So I'm going to take a nice big dart right here, right underneath his little snout. And I'm going to pull that clay out. And then I'm just going to push that dart together like that. And just pull that over like that. And then I'm just going to take my tool and just start to clean that up a little bit. Okay. Now I think it's a little bit long. So I'm also going to cut some of this off right here. Like that. So I'm just going to cut that off. And then I'm going to push this back together again. And that is probably going to give us a nice little pig head that's not too big. Okay, so there it is now. And again, you may have to add a little bit of clay right there just to kind of where you joined it together. There's a little bit of a separation. You can add just a little clay there and smooth that in. Okay, and then we're going to reevaluate. So here we go. Okay, and that looks pretty good, but his head's tilting down at an angle. So I'm going to, again, take another dart right here. There's the little snout. I'm going to take a dart up here at the top of his head, like that. And I'm just going to do that right there. And you can smooth it together with your fingers. You can use a tool. So there's his head now. Okay, so he's got a flat spot all the way around for me to join this clay to the pot. And I'm going to score again just to make sure it's nice and sticky. And this seems to need just a little bit more water. I'm just going to score. Okay, really helps if you can take the time to look at a Google picture of a pig. Okay, so there's his head. And I'm just going to stick this in just like we normally would. Go all the way around, pressing the clay into the scored part of the bowl. And I generally use my fingers here to pull the clay over and attach. Okay. Like that. Okay, so now he's nice and attached. Okay. And I'm going to use this tool, my spatula, and I'm just going to smooth his head out just a little bit. So I'm just going to smooth his head out. Okay. Then I'm going to flatten it a little bit. You know, you just kind of fuss with it, making it try to be the shape of a pig's head. Okay, so now we're here. I'm going to wanted to change the camera angle so you could actually see. So we're going to try to just shape this like a pig's head. And we're going to attach the snout. Well, we have our snout already. I'm just going to put my snout on and see what that looks like. And I think that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a hole here. Because as you know, this right here is an air pocket. Just a nice big one that we created. And so we want to make a hole there and stick the spout on so that the air can flow through. And I'm just going to gently pull that clay all the way around. And we're going to be able to adjust this later, but we're just getting the pieces together at this point. Okay, so there's Piggy face. Now, we want to go ahead and put his eyes on first because the ears, once we get the ears on, it's going to be a little bit difficult to put his eyes on. So pigs have pretty beady eyes, and if you want to go look at a pig on your Google, we're just going to stick them on like that. And then you can take your needle tool and just make a little, and go all the way in, because there you have the escape for the air that you created, that eye pocket. So there's your pig, his little eyes. And again, like I said, we're going to adjust all this once we get the ears on. So now we've got our ears, and we want to make our little flange again, pulling those out like that, flattening them, and then you can just stick them right on your pig's head like that, smoothing them in. And you can use a tool, smooth that down like that. And if you feel like the ear's too big, that ear seems a little big to me, you can just pinch the top off like that. Or you can make a whole nother ear depending on what you want to do. But I just pinch that off, and then I'm just going to kind of reshape it. And that looks more manageable as an ear for a pig. So I'm going to reshape this like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and shorten this other ear because the other one was too big. So I'm just going to go ahead and shorten it here before I attach it. There. Sorry about that. That was my phone. I thought I had turned it to vibrate. Okay, so we're going to put that little flange there again. And we're just going to stick this ear right there. Right over the... Pigs' ears are right over their eyes. And they tend to cover their eyes a little bit. And again, just blending the clay in with your tool. If you can't get your finger in there. And once you have the ears attached, you can take a look at your pig. And I usually like to take a look at the profile and start to adjust that profile just a little bit. Maybe straighten the ears, maybe pull the nose up just a little bit more. Take a look at the mouth. My mouth, I think he needs a little bit more of a chin, so I'm going to flatten that out just a little bit. And then turn it on the other side. Like that. And just kind of check out the profile. See what you think. And then his nostrils are not even. So I'm going to make them even. You can kind of just fuss around with this for as long as you want to. Which I will do quite a bit more fussing of him later. But I just wanted to give you the general idea. And then the next thing you want to do is... you're going to go right between the ears. and that's where your tail's going to be. So you're going to just come down and make you a little place that's scored, little water, and then you can just take a little coil and you're just going to stick your little tail on there and attach it, right? And then you're just going to take the end and you're just going to twist it. Twist it all the way around and then tuck it in so that you don't knock it off when you are washing it. And there's your little curly tail. And now we're going to take a look at how tall the feet are. These feet really aren't bothering me. They're a little bit tall, but they're not bothering me so much. So I probably will just leave them. But if you want to cut yours and make them a little shorter, you can. And there you have it. Our little pig salsa bowl. Nice and deep. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great week, and stay well. Take care, people.